What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Trapfish Aquatics. Today we're going to be talking about upgrades you can make to increase the performance of your store-bought filter. Alright guys, so upgrading your filters. This is a question that I get asked a lot, so I figured I would make a video of this, better explaining how to do it, and what I'm doing it with. So this is in conjunction with my video of the best upgrade on Amazon, right? So this is a block of sponge that I bought off Amazon for 15 bucks. If you want one of these, link is always in the description, but as you can see, I've been using it. This block of sponge was actually about this big, cost me about 15 bucks. And this is perfect for upgrading your filters. This works in all hang-on backs, canister filters. If you want to upgrade sponge filters, sure, you could cut a piece of this out, cut a hole in it, and slide it on your sponge filter. Sure, it'll work. But I'm going to show you guys how to upgrade your hang-on backs, specifically with this, because that's what I use it for. You can cut pieces off of this, put it in your canister as well. Sure, that works great. So I'm going to show you guys how you can use that in a hang-on back filter, right? So first thing I want to talk about is the hang-on back filter itself. So this is a Tetra Whisper filter. It's an old one I have sitting around, right? This is rated for 60 gallons. And the way that these were designed to work is off of a cartridge system. Now, many of you probably know what that is. That's these things, right? This is a filter cartridge. And per the manufacturer, when you set up this filter, you want to change these out about once a month. And the reason for that is they say that you need to put a new one in there so that it can filter your aquarium better. And yeah, you do, because these do plug up. This is essentially filter floss with carbon in it. And if we know anything about filter floss and carbon, filter floss plugs up, you can rinse it out a couple times, and then they kind of plug up real bad and can't really hold anymore. And then carbon is only good for about 2 weeks in the aquarium, right? They both run themselves out, and then you have to replace them. And it's also a money grab scheme for all these companies that make cartridge systems, because these cartridges don't fit other filters, right? So I'll get to that in a little bit and show you guys what I mean. But the first thing I want to talk about is, if you look at these, right, you've got this big box in here, and you have this, right? So it's only using about half the space, maybe a little bit less of the entire filter box there, right? So we want to increase the amount of volume that we're using here to be able to achieve more biological filtration and overall better filtration, right? So if this is rated for 60 gallons, right, and it's got 2 filter cartridges, you can figure that this filters 30 gallons and this filters 30 gallons. So based on the size, right, showed you it only does about half, right? We want to increase that. So in order to do that, we can take our block of sponge that we have here and a pair of scissors, nice and easy, and cut out a small piece of sponge. And basically how this works, you take your filter, pull one of these out, match it up on here, cut it out, take the piece that you cut out, stick it in your filter. Simple as that, right? And then the water is going to flow through this back into your aquarium, and now this big chunk of sponge is going to grow all of your beneficial bacteria, as opposed to this little cartridge that you throw away every 2 to 3 weeks, every month, something like that, and then it has to rebuild all that bacteria. Now, on another note, if we look at it now, this is twice as big as this, right? So in theory, this will hold twice as much bacteria as one of these. So essentially, by doing this to both sides, you've doubled the capacity that this filter system can handle, right? Now, one thing you want to make sure of is when you're doing it with these hang-on backs and upgrading with sponge like this, is you leave this back part open. You want water to flow all the way across and flow all the way through. If you set it up so that it's back like this is the only spot that's going to have water getting into the sponge. Eventually this will plug up and this won't work. You want to make sure that you leave it forward with a gap in the back so that this works properly, right? but that is increasing the biological capabilities of this filter system, right? So you do that to both sides and then run the filter. Now, there's even more that you can do to this, right? Intake tube, right? You can increase the biological capacity just on your intake tube. Now, how do you do that? Intake sponge. Put it on the intake like that. Now you've got all this biological media in addition to all this biological media, and you've got a biological powerhouse, right? This is going to work really well at biological filtration. And this is how I run all of my hang-on bags, full of sponge with intake sponges. And they do amazing job at filtering out an aquarium. So that's how I'm going to run all of mine, right, is with sponge. I don't run any kind of chemical filtration. This is going to be your mechanical filtration and your biological filtration. And when these get dirty, right, take them out, squeeze them out in some a bucket of aquarium water, and then once the water runs clear, put it back in. Simple as that. You'll never have to buy cartridges again. These are going to last longer than the filter's life, and they work amazing. So I want to show you guys some other stuff too. Intake sponges, right? Doesn't just hold all the beneficial bacteria inside of this sponge. If you're feeding flake food, the flakes are going to get stuck to this and not get sucked up and plug up your filter. Ever since I started running intake sponges like this, I've had to do less filter maintenance on the internal sponges, right? Because a majority of the gunk is going to get caught here, and these are going to stay, for the most part, relatively clean. So basically what I've been doing is, instead of cleaning these every single time, I've been cleaning this 3 times, and on the 3rd cleaning, I'll do these, right? And these still are nowhere near as dirty. So intake sponges do a really good job at preventing food getting sucked up in there. It prevents these from getting gunked up, but it doesn't reduce the biological capabilities. It increases them. So excellent combination of filter sponge and intake sponges. Now, let me show you guys how this intake sponge works on other filters, as well as the cartridge system debacle. Right? So this is a Penguin, no, it's an Emperor 400. Right? There's the 350s that look very similar to this, but this is a 400, and this is the filter cartridge off of that Whisper 60. Now, if you look at the filter boxes here, right, this obviously doesn't fit in there. So the filter cartridge for the Whisper and the filter cartridge for the Emperor 400 or the Penguin 350, they're all different, right? And that's so each company can continue making money, where you can't just have one standard filter and put it in all of them. With sponge, you can, right? Because you just cut off a piece of sponge that fits, and you just stick it in there, right? Now, this one, you could even double it up, or at least 1.5, right? Or the 350s, right? You can do one of these and it fits good, and that's about it. The 400s, you have a bigger media box. You can see you can run multiple cartridges. If you wanted to run a carbon cartridge to remove a medication or something like that, you can slide that right in here, no big deal. Leave the sponge in there, fits and works perfectly. They also sell additional media cartridges that you can put ceramic rings in. You can slide one of those in there. That'll work in conjunction with the sponge as well. Increases your biological capabilities even more, right? So filter sponge is universal. You can use it in almost anything. And speaking of using in almost anything, let me show you guys some of the weirder filters I've collected over the years and show you how sponge will actually work in those. This one is a little bit more popular out of the weird ones. And a lot of you guys have probably seen these. These are Whisper internal filters. You put this inside of your aquarium. They run these little cartridges, right? Which, as you can tell, different sizes. They're not universal, right? So I see a lot of people running these. Well, good news. Cut some sponge, stick it in there, no more cartridges, right? Sponge works in that. That's amazing. It works really well. Another one, and Tetra seems to be really good at making weird filters, right? This is a Tetra Whisper 30. This is the EX model, right? Which I don't even know if they make these anymore, and I hope they don't, because they're terrible, for the reason of this. So you'll notice Tetra Whisper, that's this, and this aren't the same shape. This has a rounded bottom. So if we look in here, I'll take that off, it actually has the little biological pad that comes with it, right? And that's weird shaped. And that's because the bottom of this is round. I know it's kind of hard to see in there, but that's round. And that doesn't allow for standard cartridges and stuff like that to work. But good news is, right? This is cut to fit. You cut this, cut the rounded edge on it, slide it in there, boom. You've got filter cartridges. I don't even think you can buy the cartridges for these in stores anymore. You got to special order them online. Right? So if you're the one person that owns this filter because you bought it while it was out, it was on sale or something, and you know it's working for you, but you can't find any cartridges anymore, get yourself some sponge. Slip it right in there, you're good to go. No more cartridges need to be purchased. You don't have to special order things like that online. Not a big deal. Go ahead and upgrade. Right? Super easy. Now, if you have a smaller aquarium, like the little 2-gallon betta cubes and things like that, or you have one of those weird tanks that comes with its own little micro filter like this, right? And they come with this little filter pad like this, and where are you going to find that? You're never going to be able to replace these or buy replacements or anything like that. And it's just got this little box in here that slides into like that, right? You're not going to be able to find replacements for that. So go ahead, get some sponge, cut some sponge, and replace it with some sponge, right? It's going to work exactly the same way. You've increased your biological capabilities even though the tank is small, right? And if you really want to, if you have, say, a starter kit for a 10-gallon and it comes with a filter that's small, like a top fin 10-gallon or something like that, they make little intake sponges for small tanks too, right? So you can get some small intake sponges, you can get some big intake sponges, you can get yourself a big pad of filter foam and stick it in there and upgrade all your filters for sponge for like 15 bucks. It's super cool, works amazing, and that's what I use in all of my filters. And all of my tanks are crystal clear, everything's healthy, right? And it's so easy to do, guys. I highly recommend it to you guys. As always, links for all of these products down in the description down below. Go ahead and get yourself some sponges, some intake sponges, big ones, small ones, everything. It's all in the description down below. And if you guys like any of the other products I use in this channel, those links are also down in the description down below, so go ahead and check those out. So thank you guys for watching Trapfish Aquatics, and I'll see you guys in the next video.